It all started on a quiet winter afternoon in a lakeside mansion that looked perfect from the outside, but inside felt emptier than a hollow shell. Richard Lawson, a man who'd built his empire with iron discipline and late nights in glass towers, stood in his marble-floored hallway, staring at decorations that meant nothing without laughter to fill the air. Pink balloons brushed against the cathedral ceiling, a three-tier princess cake sat untouched, and faint children's music floated from a speaker like it was mocking him. His daughter Naomi sat by the bay window in her wheelchair, dressed in lavender with a satin bow in her hair. 8 years old, paralyzed after a car accident and waiting for friends who would never come. "Daddy, when are they getting here?" Her voice was small, hopeful, the kind of hope that cut deeper than anger ever could. Richard had hand-delivered 20 invitations to families he once considered close. Every response came back with excuses: soccer practice, family trip, some other commitment. He knew the truth. They didn't want to confront the image of a little girl in a chair, a reminder that life could break without warning. "They're probably running late," Richard lied, forcing a smile as he tugged at his tie, his armor even in his own home. But he felt it, the tightening in his chest, the loneliness pressing in on both of them. Naomi smiled back, but it was the polite smile kids use when they don't want to hurt you more. That smile burned him worse than any tears. Then came a sound he hadn't expected: soft, rapid knocks at the door. Not the confident knock of an adult, but small hands tapping with hope. Richard's heart jumped. He hurried across the grand foyer and pulled open the heavy door. There stood a boy, maybe 8 or 9, skinny frame, dark skin, faded jeans, torn at the knees, sneakers scuffed thin, and a Captain America t-shirt with a hole at the hem. His eyes were wide, cautious, but bright. "Hi," he said, a little out of breath. "I heard there's a birthday party here." Richard hesitated, glancing back at the empty room. "There is." "I live down by River Court," the boy said quickly, pointing behind him. "Sometimes I see her in the window. She always looks like she's waiting. I thought maybe it was her birthday today. I didn't get an invite, but I just wanted to say happy birthday. Maybe be her friend for a little while." From the window, Naomi called out, her face suddenly lit up. "Daddy, is that for me?" Richard's throat tightened. "Yes, sweetheart." Then to the boy, "What's your name, Darius?" "Darius Carter." Richard stepped aside. "Come in, Darius." And just like that, the mansion that had been echoing with silence filled with something real. Darius didn't pause at the sight of Naomi's chair. He grinned, crouched down, and said, "I love superheroes, and you've got the best rescue vehicle I've ever seen. Captain America, me just found the fastest partner in the city." Naomi blinked confused, then giggled. "You mean this thing can fly? Not just fly." Darius spread his arms like wings, zoom over rooftops, dodge dragons, land on castle balconies. "You ready, partner?" Richard watched his daughter laugh for the first time in years. Not the polite smile, but a full, unguarded laugh that shook the room. He found himself pulled into their game too, playing the role of the wise old mentor. They fought off invisible spies, crossed lava pits by the fireplace, and celebrated victory with cake. For once, Naomi wasn't the fragile girl in the chair. She was a superhero leading the mission. And it wasn't money or doctors that gave her that gift. It was this boy who had nothing but imagination. The next Saturday, Richard drove Naomi to River Court, a working-class neighborhood he had never really noticed before. They carried a pie as a thank you gift. The building was small, the walls weathered, but the walkways had chalk drawings, bikes leaning against railings, flower pots lined up by windows. It was alive. Darius opened the door with a grin, ushering them inside. The apartment smelled of cinnamon and coffee. On the walls were framed photos. Graduations, birthdays, Family moments captured in pride, not luxury. His grandmother, Evelyn Carter, welcomed them warmly. She was small, late 60s, strong presence, silver streak in her hair. "Mr. Lawson, welcome to our home," she said, shaking his hand firmly. Richard sat on their worn sofa and listened as Evelyn spoke. "When you see someone carrying a heavy load, you share the weight," she told him. "Not because they're weak, but because everyone needs to know they're not alone." Richard nodded, humbled. He realized in that tiny apartment there was more life than in all his empty hallways. Naomi laughed with Darius in a blanket fort. They built an adventure library full of books turned into maps for wild journeys. And Richard saw his daughter glowing, leading thriving, not despite her chair, but with it. Then came the night everything changed again. Naomi's call shook him from his office. "Daddy, it's Darius. Grandma Evelyn fell. She won't wake up." Richard raced to St. Mary's Hospital. There was Darius curled in a chair too big for him, his shirt wrinkled, sneakers tapping nervously. He looked up, tears brimming. "They say it's her heart. They need some medicine, cardio tracks, but insurance won't cover it. They said it's too expensive. Without it, she might not have much time." Richard froze. Cardio tracks was his company's drug. He'd sat in the boardroom nodding when they priced it sky high to please shareholders. And now here was the cost in the face of a boy who had given his daughter joy, and in the life of a woman who had given him wisdom. He found the doctor, asked directly, "What's her chance without it?" The doctor sighed. "Older drugs are cheaper but weaker. With cardio tracks, she has years. Without it, maybe months, maybe days." Richard returned to Darius, who whispered, "They're not going to give her the good one, are they?" Richard sat down beside him. "She will get it, tonight. And you won't pay a cent." Darius blinked. "Why would you—" "Because it's the right thing," Richard said, steady for once, without his armor. "Your grandmother gave my daughter back her laughter. The least I can do is give her a fighting chance." That night, Evelyn received her first dose. Richard stayed by her side until her breathing steadied, until some of the strain left her face. Walking into the night air, he didn't feel triumphant the way corporate victories once made him feel. He felt human, whole. 2 decades later, Richard stood outside a new glass-fronted building, the Lakeshore Heart Center. The name Harbor Foundation gleamed on the banner. Inside, doctors and families filled the lobby, children running, laughter echoing. Beside him, Naomi, now 28, sat tall in her custom wheelchair, a confident game designer creating therapy programs for kids like her. She smiled at him, the same spark from her childhood still there. Then a man stepped to the podium in a tailored suit and white coat draped over his arm. Darius Carter, now Dr. Darius Carter. His voice carried steady and warm. "When I was 8, I walked up to a mansion on the lake. I didn't have an invitation. I just saw a girl in the window who looked like she needed a friend. I never imagined that knock on the door would change her life, mine, and maybe even this whole community." He spoke of his grandmother's wisdom of planting seeds with love that one day grow into flowers that feed the world. He pointed to the new center. "This place is one of those flowers. Built for families who can't afford the care they need. No child should lose a parent because of a price tag. No grandparent should be denied more years because profits mattered more than people." The crowd applauded. Richard felt Naomi's hand squeeze his, both of them, remembering that day, that knock. When the ribbon was cut, reporters called it a triumph of generosity. But Richard knew the truth. It wasn't just generosity, it was justice. And it had started with a boy who refused to let a little girl be alone on her birthday. Now here's where I leave it to you, because maybe you've seen it too. The way people turn away from what makes them uncomfortable, the way money decides who gets to live, who gets left behind. Do you think Richard did enough by opening his wallet? Or was it too late after years of profit over people? Do you think one act of kindness really can ripple through a lifetime? Or was this just luck? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you stand. Because sometimes changing the world begins not with power, not with wealth, but with one small knock on a door. And maybe that knock is yours.